So, anyway, golly, we're on Christmas break, and the fact of the matter is that you deserve a break. But did you ever notice that even after a few days at Christmas, you still don't feel like yourself? You still don't feel better. I mean, everything stops, all the email slows down, the alarm clock's off, and yet somehow or another, your body still feels tired. Your brain feels foggy, and maybe you're still just a little bit of an emotional wreck. And if that sounds familiar, I want you to stay with us for just a moment, because in this video, I'm going to try to help you understand what's actually happening in your body and why rest or resting feels harder than what it ought to. And I want to give you a strategy and some steps that can help you, that you can take, that will help begin to interrupt the burnout cycle that every one of us are dealing with. And the first thing I want you to know is that it doesn't come by working harder or trying harder. It doesn't come because you are able to fix everything, or that somehow you're able to make everything the way that it ought to be, but it comes by understanding your body, and the thing that your body has been dealing with and what your body actually needs. So, if you've ever wondered anything about that whatsoever, hang with us, and we're going to get at it right here. But to fully understand what the burned out body is dealing with, we have to understand something that's extraordinarily important. And that is, it hasn't just been a rough semester. I mean, I get it. Teaching is tough. It's always been tough, and it's always going to be tough. But this hasn't just been a rough semester. This is not about hard work. It's not about being busy. It's not about all the things that teachers have to do. It's about the last 18 weeks of a sustained demand that you and I have been under. It is 18 weeks of loud voices in the classroom. It's 18 weeks of parent complaints. It's 18 weeks of trying to figure out how to meet the accommodations of this student or that student. It's 18 weeks worth of a lack of administrative support. It's 18 weeks of one meeting right after the other, and it's 18 weeks of unpaid overtime. So maybe you understand what I'm talking about. And I feel like you do, because a significant percentage of teachers report, even at this particular time in the year, that they're already feeling the effects of burnout. In fact, what the statistics say is that somewhere between the high 40s to low 50% of teachers report feeling burned out. And so, what that literally means is that half of the profession, half of teachers in the nation, say that they are emotionally exhausted, they are physically depleted, and they are struggling to recover. And the type of exhaustion that a teacher is dealing with, and you've probably heard it a lot of times, is we're not just tired, we're teacher tired. Well, what does that mean? That means that we've reached a place of exhaustion where you can't fix it with a nap. And you certainly can't fix it with a couple of weeks off. And we're going to talk about that just a little bit more in a little bit, so don't run off. But here's what I want you to think about. When nearly half of teachers in America report being burned out, being depleted, being emotionally exhausted, that tells you that this is not a personal failure on your part. It's not a personal failure on my part. Rather, it's a systemic reality, and it is the cause of a systemically broken system. It is 100% my thought process that public education, that being a teacher in the public sector, is not a sustainable profession if that person is intended or intends to do everything that is expected of a teacher. I just don't believe that it's sustainable. And the evidence is on my side because 270,000 teachers per year are leaving the profession. Currently, the statistics are that 857,000 teacher jobs nationwide are still open or they're being filled by an unqualified sub. And I don't mean that in a terrible way. It's just that subs are not qualified teachers, right? But they're doing a job and we're glad that they're doing it. So don't misunderstand that. So if you're a part of that 50% or above 50%, like I am, I don't want you to feel ashamed. I don't want you to isolate yourself. I don't want you to feel like that there's something wrong with you or that you're broken or that you did something that wasn't, or you did something and you didn't do it the right way, that somehow you're the problem. You're not the problem. The system is the problem. Now, what is burnout or what isn't burnout? Let's start with what is not burnout. Burnout is not end of the day tiredness. It's not coming home and knowing that you've worked a hard day and needing to sit down on the couch or having to take a nap to recover. That is not burnout. Because burnout can't be fixed by a nap. And burnout can't be fixed by a weekend. As a matter of fact, burnout can't even be fixed in the 2 weeks that we're going to be off for Christmas break. And again, we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So don't run off because you're going to want to hear what the research says about it. Burnout is mental, emotional, and spiritual depletion that develops over time. And it often results in disassociation. In disassociation, what we're talking about right here, it's the idea of that we disassociate from our feelings, that we become numb, or that we feel disconnected. We even become disassociated with our actions. And in short, we take on an attitude that says, hey, I don't even care anymore. I don't care what happens at work. I don't care what happens with the students. I don't care about things at home because we become completely disassociated. And I want you to know that disassociation is not a sign of laziness. And I know that it may look that way and it may even feel that way, but disassociation is not laziness. It doesn't mean that you're a bad employee. It doesn't mean that you're a bad teacher. Disassociation is a method of protecting ourselves. That's what we do when physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, we've come to a breaking point. We've come to a breaking point, but we know that we have to continue on in our job. Most of us can't just walk off the job. In fact, 66% of teachers say that if they had another option other than teaching, that they wouldn't be teachers at all, that they would stop teaching today. But most of us, we feel like we're stuck as teachers. We feel like there's nothing more that we can do. So we know we have to continue going to work, and so we just disassociate in order to protect ourselves. Now, also, burnout is not just stress. Stress in our life is extraordinarily important. For instance, it's the end of the semester, and many of you, like the rest of us around the world, we were trying to figure out how we were going to get in all the grades because for most of us, EOCs were this week. For us, it was the last, basically the last 3 days of the school week. And so now all these grades are due, and we're going to come back in January, and they're going to want them in like immediately. And many of us are a couple weeks behind in our grading anyway because of all the stuff that we have to do. Parents are on top of us. They're mad because they don't know where their kids are at. They don't know if they've got a zero or if something's missing. They don't really know what's going on. And so the feeling of pressure to perform, that's good stress. That is what enables us or gives us the drive to finish our work. That's not burnout. Okay, burnout, and the reason why that's not burnout is because once we get the grades in or once we complete that task, that pressure goes away and your body will settle back down. Burnout is the result of chronic stress. And when you have chronic stress, the body never relaxes. It never resolves the issue. And it's like having clenched fists. It's like that's exactly the way the body gets. It gets completely tensed up and it just doesn't ever let go. It's caught. It's stuck. It's like the fire alarm at my school that goes off all the time. This indicator goes on and it goes off all the time. There's no fire. There's no problem. It's just that the alarm keeps going off. And that's exactly what goes on in your body when you begin to experience burnout. Your body stays on high alert all the time. And what that does is it creates a situation to where it begins to affect your judgment and your decision making. And part of the reason why is because chronic stress creates a scenario where decision making is constant. And I don't know if you know this, but the average teacher makes more decisions in a day than the average surgeon. About 1,500 decisions a day are made in a classroom. Somebody said that there's, 1,000 or more interruptions in a day in a classroom. And I got to be honest with you, I just think about that and I feel like it's going to be more like 10,000, right? And that creates a constant friction because every time you're distracted, you have to refocus and you have to come back. And that's an emotional labor that takes, or a cognitive labor. And it creates decision fatigue. And I don't know if you've ever experienced decision fatigue. Go ahead and throw it in the chat and let us know. Leave it down there in the comments and tell us about your experience with decision fatigue. There are times in my job, and for clarity, I haven't been in a classroom in a while. I've been the dean of students at my school for the last 7 years, and I can absolutely tell you that there are times when there are so many referrals, there are so many parent complaints, there are so many things going on at school, there are so many decisions to make, there are threat assessments, there's everything going on that I get to a point where I can't make a single decision. I'm completely locked up. Hey, you know what? You're absolutely welcome because it is Christmas break, isn't it? I mean, I know that, some people are going to call it winter break and hey, we're not tore up about that. We're not going to be upset. But for us, it's Christmas break and we celebrate Christmas. And I wanted to say Merry Christmas to everybody. We got a lot of people on the line already. We got people in the chat. So I appreciate y'all. Just wanted to say hello to you. I see you over there. Anytime you want to drop a question there, or if you got something to say, go ahead and say it because we're here to have a conversation. That's exactly what we want to do. All right. So when we're burned out, it puts us in a highly vigilant mode all day long. It's like we're on edge. All right. And you understand exactly what that's like because you end up, you go home, you go to sleep, you have a good night's sleep, and then you go to work, except you're exhausted by about 9:30. By about third period, all right, or halfway through second period, you're already exhausted. And it's because the body is constantly vigilant. The brain is constantly looking for whatever's coming next. And there's a pressure to respond, and the pressure is to always to respond correctly. And that pressure never shuts off. And that's what chronic stress is like. And what that does is that puts the brain and the body into the fight or flight mode. Fight or flight's not a mindset. I want you to understand that. Fight or flight is not just the idea that, necessarily that somebody's after us and we're going to have to either run or we're going to have to stand up and fight. That is one aspect. But when the brain is under chronic stress, what happens is our thinking leaves the frontal lobe and it goes into the amygdala in the middle of the brain. And I'm not a scientist and I certainly don't teach biology or anything like that. But My understanding is that's a little peanut looking thing in the middle of our brain. And all of a sudden, instead of having well thought out decisions, we're making snap decisions. Sometimes those decisions are right, sometimes those decisions are wrong, right? But we're making decisions without being fully informed by our brain. Why? Because we're in fight or flight mode, which means that we have gone into a biological survival response. It's as if our brain and our body has said, hey, there's a war going on. And we have suited up with armor and we're going out to take on an enemy and to take on a fight. And without sounding grim, that enemy may very well be mad parents or students that want to be aggressive or violent in the classroom, or it may be an administrator that won't help us or give us the support that we need. So I got a feeling, because about 50% of America's teachers report being burned out at this time of the year, 18 weeks into the year, I got a feeling that those of you that are listening to us, I got a feeling that's some of you. So I wonder if you would just take and just drop that in the chat. And if you don't mind, I'm going to have some coffee. Man, I don't know what it is about a cup of coffee, but I absolutely love to drink coffee. So you'll have to overlook me. When the body goes into a biological survival response, the body stays ready, it stays guarded, and it stays alert at all time. And when this stays active for long periods of time, here's what happens. The very first thing to go is your quality of sleep. And so you may recognize that at times when you get home and that it's time to go to bed, that you're sleepy, that you're very exhausted, but you go to lay down and you either find it hard to fall asleep or you find it difficult to stay asleep. And the reason why is because the brain gets caught on a loop. It's like a squirrel is up inside of our head and it's just running rampant in there on a wheel. We replay all the thoughts of the day, all the negative interactions of the day, all the mistakes that we feel like we've made, all the times that we were irritated, or the times that maybe we snapped off at one of our students and we shouldn't have. All of those things play back in our mind. The second thing that happens right there with our sleep is that our legs, they don't seem to rest. It's not that we have restless leg syndrome, but they just don't seem to relax. And part of that's because most teachers are on their feet all day long. Again, I said I'm not in the classroom, the dean of students, but I'm on my feet all day long. There's hardly a moment that I can sit. And whenever I do sit, it's because I'm having to take care of some problem in my office, either with a referral or a student or the parent. And it's not like it's relaxing. The next thing that happens is we begin to lose emotional regulation. And you probably know what I'm talking about. Things that don't normally bother us, all of a sudden, they begin to bother us. All of a sudden, they begin to irritate us. Students that are normally kids that we love and we enjoy being around, all of a sudden, they're getting on our nerves and we start snapping at them. The ones that already drive us nuts, it's even worse. And I only say that because 100% have lived experience with what I'm talking about right here. There are students that I love dearly, but whenever I'm under chronic stress and I know that I've clicked into the fight or flight mode, all of a sudden, I become very difficult to deal with. I became very difficult to deal with at home. Some of us have probably heard that from our spouse or our significant other or other family members to say, hey man, you're pretty grouchy right at the moment. Maybe you need to take some time off. And you know what? They're probably right. The third thing that happens is clarity of thought. All of a sudden, it becomes very difficult to think. Okay, going back to that phrase that we used right there, decision fatigue. Decision fatigue is a real thing. I mean, who would have thought that the brain can become tired, and yet it can. In particular, whenever the brain is constantly interrupted. One of the things that I struggle with is one of my responsibilities at school is I am I'm like the director of safety. I don't want to say director. I'm like in charge of campus safety as well, and I have to do threat assessments. For self harm or if somebody makes a threat. There's a whole statute of things that are required, and it's a great big long report, and it can get very detailed. And one of the things that happens is a lot of times I'll get started in on one of those and I'll get called away from that report, that single report, maybe 6, 8, 10, or a dozen times. And it becomes this monumental task of of having to come back and try to figure out where I left off and pick up my train of thought so that I keep all of the facts straight. Now I'm not in the classroom, but imagine I was in the classroom as all of you are, and imagine being in a classroom and being distracted and disrupted every time you turn around, and then having to come back and try to pick up where you left off in your lesson or whatever it is that you're doing in the classroom that day. And after 7.5 hours or 8 hours, whatever you work at your district, it'll absolutely drain you physically and mentally. And the fourth thing that happens is a sense of connection. All right, going back to that idea of being disassociated. Whenever you're under chronic stress, you begin to feel like you're the problem, that everybody else around you is doing just fine, and that this is only you. And you begin to lose connection with your colleagues, with your family, and you begin to withdraw and isolate yourself. And that is a very, very dangerous position. I can tell you that 3 years ago, well, it's been a little over 3 years ago. It's been almost 4 years now. I woke up and my face went completely paralyzed. And I thought I had a stroke. My family thought I had a stroke. The kids at school thought I had a stroke. Everybody thought I had a stroke. But, thank the Lord, I didn't have a stroke. I had an acute onset of Bell's palsy as a result of chronic stress. And my doctor, I'll never forget what he said. He looked at me and says, John, he says, if you don't do something about your stress is going to do something about you. And he meant that there was going to be a catastrophic health event in my life. And because I'm an idiot, and I don't mean to say things like that, but because I'm a dummy, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to him, and I continued to work. I worked an entire year after that and never took a day off. And it nearly killed me. It nearly killed me to do that. If you are on the verge, like 50% of the nation's teachers, then hear what I'm about to say. I want you to know that nothing is wrong with you. Nothing. I want you to know that your body is trying to protect you. The problem is that your body doesn't know, your brain doesn't know that you're safe. And we're going to work on that in just a moment. Now, once we understand that we haven't just had a rough semester, right? It's not just a hard semester. It's an unsustainable system. Once we understand that, then we can answer this question. Does Christmas break even matter? Does this next 2 weeks even make a difference? Now, burnout develops over a period of time, not just days, all right? And so we're 18 weeks into it, and we're at the place where burnout is beginning to go one way or the other. So what we've learned nowadays is that burnout, the onset of burnout, usually picks up somewhere around in October, right? And then it's beginning to hit its height right here, which is so good that we have this break. But to heal from months or weeks of chronic stress, it takes time. And it's not just time off. And so I want you to know that Christmas break is not a cure. It's an opportunity. And here's the reason why it's not a cure. Because what the research tells us is that it takes about 6 weeks for the brain to come out of the fight or flight mode and go back into the rest and digest mode. So before you can really begin to feel like yourself again after you've been under a long period of chronic stress, it's going to take about 6 weeks. Well, we only have about 2 weeks. And so we're coming up 4 weeks short. Burnout develops over months, and restoration and healing is a long-term process. But interruption, which is what we're doing right here at the Christmas break, interruption is an opportunity to break a harmful pattern. And that's exactly what we want to do. We want to break a pattern because the nervous system learns patterns. You have to have a way of getting your brain to tell your body that everything's okay. And so you don't have to fix everything over the Christmas break, but you do have to interrupt the cycle that your brain and body has been caught in. And that's what I want to share with you. All right, right down in the description box. I just created it this weekend. I worked all Friday. I had to take Friday off, so I didn't work the last day, and I worked on this all Friday, and I worked on it all day yesterday. And it's what I call an invitation to peace, a 3-day Christmas reset, and it's a challenge. And listen to me, it's free. It's 100% free, and it's always free. Those of you that have been here with Teacher Talk, you know that this is a free resource. And so we have went ahead and developed that for you. As a matter of fact, I have, I think, for us tonight, just a really quick sneak peek, if I can find where I'm at, of the guide that we're using for our reset. I'm just going to share with you the guide really quick. So there's our guide. Right? And you can see what that looks like right there. And I'm going to go ahead and pull my face back up so that we can see what in the world's going on. There I am. I got lost. And it's just a little quick 3-day reset. And so what I did is I went ahead and I created a series out of it, and I put it up in my store. And again, that is free. It's 100% free, and it's always free. Everything at Teacher Talk is free. And so it's there for you in the description box. And we want you to go and get that. Because again, the goal is to create an interrupt right here for 2 weeks. Now, I just want you to know that the resource, it does say a 3-day reset. But you can take longer than that, and you can go through it and do it multiple times, but I'll leave that up to you. Now, small interrupts make real impact. Okay, again, it takes about 6 weeks to get out of the fight or flight mode. And so what happens is that we get this break, and for a day or two, we feel really good. And the reason why is because the pressure suddenly gets off of us. The problem is that it doesn't last because the brain hasn't shifted gears yet. And so we begin to feel kind of poorly very quickly. Now, our nervous system doesn't follow the calendar, so it doesn't know that it should take a break right here for these next 2 weeks. So it's up to us to tell it that. Now, these 2 weeks matter because the brain does not need full healing in order to change, but it needs consistent signals that say everything's okay. And you do that through small intentional practices. And that's exactly what's in our challenge. Again, you can grab that right down in the description box. It's free. It's 100% free, and it's always free. I want to encourage you to go get it and get started on it today to get some help. But small intentional practices, they interrupt the survival mode that our brain gets in. It creates an opportunity for regulation, and it gives you the opportunity to build momentum towards healing. And so the important thing to remember right here is that interruption creates space for healing to begin, even if it's not finished. And this is going to be extraordinarily important because if these 2 weeks or however many days you have on the Christmas break are not used wisely, when you get back into school, it'll only be a week or two, and all of your problems will come right back. All of those feelings will come right back, and you'll find yourself right back in the burnout shoes. Now, here's why structure matters is because instead of collapsing into rest, you can choose to rest. Structure gives the nervous system some predictability, some containment, and it gives permission to slow down. That's why intentional resets are effective. It's an intentional act, right? And there's 3 days. Again, it's right down in the description box. It is free. It's 100% free, and it's always free. And we absolutely 100% want you to go get it. And so small interruptions or intentional interruptions really do matter. The final question that we have for us this evening is, how do we actually turn Christmas into a reset instead of just a pause? And I want to share with you three things, just three, that you can do. Now, please understand, the goal is not perfection. Number two, this is not an assignment. This is an invitation. And number three, this is not a transfer of knowledge. This is transformation, because that's what we're after, is transformation. And the very first thing that I want you to do is to release the weight of this past semester. Because burnout gets worse when we have unresolved emotional weight. Every single one of us have things that have happened in the past 18 weeks that we're not happy about. We've all made decisions that we regret. We've all said things that we shouldn't have, right? We've all been in situations where we didn't act appropriately or we didn't come prepared in the best way that we possibly could. And if you can't let go of those things, if you can't release the emotional weight, it will only make problems worse. Let it go. And one of the ways that you can do that is by spending just a few minutes a day writing. Just sit down and write your thoughts. Or you can do what I do. I actually use ChatGPT, and what I do is I journal my thoughts through the voice memo into ChatGPT, and I use a method. I run all of my thoughts through there, and then I tell ChatGPT, I want you to discover the problem, find a solution, and then tell me what the lesson is. And then it spits out its understanding. I know that sounds ridiculous, and maybe it is ridiculous, but it's become a good way for me to be able to process what's going on in my brain and in my own feelings, because I'm complex. It's not that I don't spend time in prayer, so don't misunderstand. I mean, everybody knows that Teacher Talk is a faith-forward organization, so don't misunderstand. I most certainly do. But I like to verbalize these things, right? You are not meant, and it is not intended for you to take last semester and carry it forward into the new semester. And that's why we need this reset. Again, it's right there in the description box. I want you to go get it. All right, it's free. It's 100% free, and it's always free. Number two, This Christmas, choose presence, Presence, over performance. Productivity, in particular, if you're a teacher, makes us feel good because we are type A driven individuals. We're task oriented. And that's why it makes us feel good every single time we get to the end of something because we get a little shot of dopamine and we feel good about ourselves. Nothing wrong with that. But productivity makes us feel safe. But connection is what helps us heal. This Christmas, put all the productivity aside. Do not pick up a single education related thing until January the 2nd. Let it go because it doesn't matter. There's nothing you can do about it now. Put all of that aside, turn off the emails, turn off the text messages, turn off the parent square or the remind, however it is that your school keeps up with you. Turn it all off and spend time making a connection with the people that you love, but more importantly, the people that love you and haven't given up on you. Because I can tell you right now, the system, as soon as you lose your worth to the system will dump you. All right? I've said that a lot of times. I spent a lot of time, investing in the life of other people into their kids and this, that, and the other. And, those people give me a pink slip just as quickly as they can. But my family has never given me a pink slip. Don't choose production over connection. Also, laughter. Spend time this holiday season laughing. Laugh with the people that you love. Sit down and watch one of those stupid Hallmark movies. I hate those Hallmark movies. I just can't stand them. Maybe you need to watch Home Alone or something else. But laugh. Big, deep belly laughs. Because the scripture says that laughter doeth the soul good like a medicine. And I don't know about you, but I want to feel good. Spend time in the quiet, alone with your thoughts, alone with the scripture. Spend time around people who are not nuts. I can't even believe I said that because that may mean some of us can't spend time with our family. I don't know, but here's my point. You want to spend time with people who are regulated and not dysregulated, like argumentative people and things of that nature. Take time to read this book right here. If you've never had this book, as a matter of fact, it's in the description box. You can get it. Just go down there and hit a link. It'll take you right over to Amazon. Sacred Rest by Sandra Dalton Smith. And she talks about 7 different types of rests. And one of the type of rest that she talks about is exactly what we just said right there, is the idea of getting away from noise. Go grab it. It's an easy read. It's a quick read. You can get through it. I don't know. If you sit down and you start in on it, you could probably read it in 2 hours. Grab it. Okay. Now, here's what I want you to hear. When you choose presence over performance, that's not time wasted. That's time repairing. And that's what I need. And I bet you do too, because 50% of the nation's teachers are burned out. Number 3, slow down your soul before restarting your schedule. Stillness is a receptive mode. All right, a lot of times we think about inactivity as being laziness. I want you to know that inactivity is not laziness. Inactivity in this sense is getting rid of things that drain your energy and doing things that restore your soul. Here are some of the things that you can do. You can get out and you can walk. You can, if you live in Florida, okay, Christmas Carol, absolutely, and National Lampoons. I was actually going to suggest that one. I just didn't know how that was going to work. I heard the bells. Got it, got it. That's good stuff right there in the chat. It tells me that it tells me that this is connecting. Teaching stuff. My good friend John's in here. He's not a teacher, but he understands exactly what I'm talking about because you know what the truth of the matter is? Life is tough. Life is tough. We all have hard jobs. We all have hard things. Number 3, slow the soul before restarting the schedule. Inactivity is not laziness. Inactivity is taking away the things that drain you and doing things that bring you joy. All right, again, if you live in Florida where I live, it's going to be 84 on Christmas. I may go kayaking. All right, where you live, it may be cold, and you're gonna have to do some sort of an activity inside the house, or you can do some stretching, or you can have a hobby, whatever it is that slows down the soul. Whatever you do, take time to detox from the doggone phone and from social media. And listen, I'm the worst. I'm terrible about it. But that drains us. Holy cow, you live in New York. I bet is it really cold up there right now? I bet it is. You live in upstate New York? I had a teacher that worked for us a few years ago. She lived in upstate New York. One of the best teachers that I ever met in my entire life. I miss her. She was great. Sit before the Lord. Take time to be before the Lord without an agenda and allow your heart to settle. One of the things that we talk about, and it's very difficult to practice, it's the idea of a mandatory mandatory recess. And one of those activities is to take 10 to 20 minutes and just sit in silence. Do you know how hard it is to sit in silence for 10 or 20 minutes with nothing else, with not a book, with not your phone, with no other people around you, with no noise, and just allowing your mind to clear and allowing yourself to sit before the Lord? You know how hard that is? Do you know how refreshing it is? Lay your heart, get steady before you end up back in the system in January. So right over here, John says it's 59, or going to be 59 in Indiana. Oh, you wouldn't be a teacher or in education in New York. I'm from Tennessee, and it's rough there. Upstate New York, where our friend is from right there, that's a little different portion of New York. I have never been there, but I really want to go there. I want to see that part. So here's the thing. 2 weeks will not cure or solve the burnout issue, but it will interrupt the burnout issue so that when we go back to school, right, we're on a strong footing and we don't fall right back into that. So if you're struggling with that and you need help if you're struggling with that and you need help setting some boundaries, there's a video right there for you. It's right there. Go check that out and it'll help you. So I am super glad that everybody dropped in tonight, and I hope that that was at least somewhat helpful for everybody. And I was supposed to mention on the front end of this thing that we are live every Sunday night at 7 o'clock, but I'm like a novice at this. And so I forgot to say that. So if you're still here, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern, every Sunday, we go live. Want to invite you, want to keep you here. Most of all, I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. So stay strong and keep teaching.